Hello and welcome back to my series how to do cool stuff without the interface builder. In this video we will build a simple login screen, the one you can see in here. We have two text fields here and a button, and the button is activated when I put something into the text fields. Okay, let's start. I have already the project here. We will close it and remove it just to start fresh, and we will also remove it from the simulator just to be sure that we get a fresh installation. Okay, now we need Xcode again. We create a new project. We call it login demo. It's a Swift project and for the iPhone, and we don't want any core data or unit tests or UI tests. We call it, we put it into the test folder. It's just I put all those projects I'm not actually working on. I'm just trying and thinking about it. Okay, so like in the last video, we first removed the storyboard. We need to move it. Xcode takes some time. Okay, then we remove the main interface, and now we have to tell the application what window it should use. It's a UI window. Window with a frame, UI screen, main screen, and from the main screen we get the bounds, and this should be the frame for the window. Before we can put in here the view controller we want to show as the root view controller, when the application is started, we first have to create it, because we will delete the given view controller, we don't need it, and we create a new view controller. Okay, Xcode has some issues at the moment on my computer. I don't know what's going on there. No, I don't want to kill Xcode. I just hope it's getting along. Yeah. Okay, now we can create a new file, which is a view controller, and we call it login view controller. And to show you that we actually get the view, wait a minute, let me just change the indentation. To show you that we get the view controller on screen, I put in here view background color, UI color, and this time we use the yellow color. And in the application delegate, we set the root view controller. Sorry, this was wrong. Window, the root view controller of the window to an instance of our login view controller, and we tell the window that it is key and visible. And if you now run the application on, I always use the smaller phone because I have a smaller screen, and therefore to see what's going on, it's better to have a smaller phone when I run the simulator. Therefore I choose the iPhone 4S. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, we have a yellow background, so we are actually really starting the right or putting the right view controller on screen. So now we can build the UI. What I do in such cases is I create a view class, because I don't want to put all the UI information into the view controller. It's better put into the view class. Normally this is when you don't, when you use storyboards, you have it in the interface builder. But when you don't use storyboards, you should put it into its own class, just to separate the view controller from the view. Okay, this is a UI view subclass, and I call it login view. We can get rid of this one here. We need a username text field. It's of kind UI text field. And we need a password text field. It's also a UI text field. And because Xcode now tells us we need an initializer, and we have two constants in the class, and we put in here the initializer init with frame. This is the designated initializer of UI view, and of course we have to tell it that we override the initializer, and we also have to implement the required initializer init with coda, but we trap. So if this is if anything calls init with coda, we want to crash the application, because this should never happen when we initialize, or when we make our interface using code. Okay, first, what I do first when I implement the initializer of a view, I call super init with frame, just to get a structure in the initializer. Sorry for the frame, I'm just too fast. Okay, now let's initialize the username text field. Username text field is a UI text field, and I use the anti-initializer because I'm using auto layout. I want to also have a password text field. It's also a UI text field, and I want to put that into a stack view. So let's put in here a stack view. Sorry, stack view, UI stack view. The arranged subviews are the username text field and the password text field. And we want to arrange the stack view using auto layout, and therefore we have to tell the stack view that it should not translate the auto-resizing mask into constraints. We don't have to do that for the username text field and the password text field, because this automatically is done under the hood when we add the text fields to a stack view as arranged subviews. Then UIKit or UIKit or iOS manages to position the text fields according to auto layout, and we only have to do some. We have to set some properties on the stack view depending on how we want to lay out those elements. We want to lay out those elements vertically. We want to have them above each other, so we have to tell the stack view that the axis is vertical. We also want to have some spacing, so let's say the spacing should be, I don't know, 10 points, and that's essentially it. We could also put this initialization above super init, but I tend to put above super init only those required initializations, like we have to init the username text field above super init, and after we have done this, we can we call super init, and after that we can access the self property of that class. I'm sure you have seen this already when using Swift. So now the next thing, oh, I forgot the button. The button will be login button, UI button, and this time I need another initializer. It's using a type initializer, and I use the system button, and we want to have a text on the button, and this should be login title. Sorry, we want to have a title, and this should be login or something, and this is for the state normal. Wait a minute, normal. I don't know what's going on here. Why it's using, no, it's correct. Okay, so title login for state normal, and we also want to have we want to set target and action. And what I try to do most of the times is using the responder chain. And when you use the responder chain, you add a target nil. And what then happens when I call or when I tap the button, the responder chains or your UIKit or iOS goes through the responder chain searching for someone who has actually implemented the action. The first one in the responder chain who has this action is then called with the button, or it's called when the button action is activated because the user taps the button. The selector, when I use this, I don't want to put in here the view controller, because the view controller will be the one who actually implements the action. What I do in this case is I just add a protocol, and I call it login protocol. And it has only one method, and this is login. And when I want to use it as a placeholder or as in the action selector, you know, the new syntax is pound selector, and I want to put in here login protocol login. And when I want to do that, I have to make sure that this has the Objective-C keyword. Well, what, not keyword, it's more like a modifier. And then I can use it in the selector syntax. So this now is correct, and I have to tell it that I want to be, the action should be activated when touch up inside is happening on the button. So then we have to add the login button to the arranged views of the stack view, and you see as we use the responder chain here, we don't need to add the button as a property on the login view, because the view controller don't need to know that there's a button. It just needs to know that it has to implement the login method. And to make sure that we don't forget it, we can put in here the login protocol as required. Okay, let's see where we are. The next thing we want to, oh wait a minute, we have forgotten to put in here the placeholder names. So username text field has a placeholder of a username, and the password text field has a placeholder, sorry, password. So, and the password should be a secure entry. secure text entry, so that when someone puts into the field the password, and someone else looks over the person's shoulder, doesn't see the password. You know how it works on iOS. And this is true. True. Sorry, true. Secure text entry, true. So now we have to add the stack view to the view, and we also have to set the background color, because otherwise the background color is, I think it's clear color, but we want to have a white background. And now comes the outer layout. It's just a simple outer layout. We want to have the stack view some space from the top, and attached to the right and the left of the super view of the login view we're creating here. So we do this by first add a constant which is called views. It has just one. It's a dictionary. It has just one entry. Stack view. Stack view. And next is we have a variable for the layout constraints, and this is an array of ns layout constraints. Okay, now we can add to this array our constraints. Layout constraints, constraints with visual format, and we want to have some space at the edges, and the options are empty, the matrix is nil, and the views are views. Next thing we want to have is vertically it should start somewhere, I don't know, 60 points from above, and we don't need any we don't have to pin it to the bottom. We want that the stack view gets its size from its contents, from the intrinsic content size of its arranged views. And then we have to call layout constraints, activate constraints, and we give it the array we just filled with all those values. So if I haven't forgot anything important, I think it's done for this for the view, and now we have to tell the view controller to use this view. First of all, let's remove everything, because we don't need it. We have to if you want to use if we want to set the view of a view controller, we have to override load view. And at the end of load view, the view we want to set for the view of the view controller, we have to set the view to the view of the view controller before the end of the load view. Otherwise, the system initializes a view by its own. So what we have to do here, we have to set view is equal to an instance of login view. And we also have to conform to the protocol, so we have to implement the login method, and in there we first of all just print that login was selected. And when we now build and run, we should see something on screen. Hopefully it's something, yeah. Okay, we have here the username and the password, but the login is already, we can already activate the login. So this is not what we want to have. We want to have that logins only active, or the login button is only active when there is something in the username and the password text field. And something else I would like to see here, I would like to print out the username here. Only the username. You should never print out a password onto the console. It's way too dangerous that this will land in the product when you put it into the App Store, and this is just the security faults. So you should never print the passwords to the console. Okay, first let's add here that we only activate the button when we have at least one character in username text field and in the password text field. So first of all, we deactivate the button. So it's enabled false. Next thing we have to do is we have to add the view as an observer for a notification. So n as notification center, default center, add observer, and we want to have view itself as the observer. The selector is, sure, let's say update button state, I don't know, something like that. The name is n is text field oh wait a minute, maybe it's UI text field did change notification, and the object is nil. So what's happening here is we add ourselves, so the login view, this one, as the observer for the message text field, UI text field did change notification. So whenever the text field in the whole application changes, we get notified, and the update button state is called. So let's now implement the method extension. We put it into an extension because we can, and it makes the code look nicer. So update button state, and we look here if the username text field text is empty, and if it's not, what is this now? Oh boy. Okay, let's do something else. Let's do something else. We put in here characters count is greater than 0, and the password text field text characters count is greater than 0. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but this is just the way I could think of at the moment. And when this happens, we want to tell the login button, the login, oh, I see. So we need a reference to the login button here, but it can be a private. We need the reference because we want to access it out in a function outside of the init method. And here the login button is only local for the init method. But when you put it into a private property, we can access it here. And we say enabled is equal to true. And in the other case, sorry, I have to get used to the auto-completion in the new Xcode. So else login button enabled false. Okay, another, I think that should be it. For the activation of the button, let's test if we have succeeded. So I put in here something and in here, and the button is active. Next step I want to do is I want to show the username here. So I can't just ask the view, let's say here, username. I can't just ask the view for the username text field, because the view is an instance of UI view. So I would have to cast to a login view, something like that. This should work. Then I can access the username text field. But as I need to access the view, the login view, so the view of the view controller, more often in this controller, I just put in here calculated property. No, I call it content view. And this is of type login view, and it's return view as login view. We also want to have here the exclamation mark, because when this fails, we want to have a crash during development, because then we have done something completely wrong, something we don't want to do. And when we have this one, we can say content view, username text field text. So this is the username, and we can put it into the logout username. And if we build and run now, we should have the username put into the username text field. And here's the password, and now we see we have the username. So this is it. This is how to implement a very boring, easy login view controller. We will see in the future more complicated view controllers. You can leave a comment what we should discuss in this video series. I plan to do something. I plan to do a tail view controller next, and custom cells and all that stuff. But if you want to see something else, just leave a comment, and if it fits, I will do a video about it. So see you next time, and stay tuned.